This is way better than we thought, as we have an injury update revolving around one of the major players that is going to be for the Boston Celtics sidelined this season in Jayson Tatum, as he's been posting on his Instagram, and we have some quotes from Brad Stevens and people around Jayson Tatum only ensuring that the star is progressing well in his Achilles update that he suffered just this past off season. So we're going to break down and look at all of this and why this is some good signs for some Celtics fans here in this latest episode here on Celtics Digest. I'm your host, Bruce Velez, with my co-host, Patrick Billings. And Patrick and I will be going live here on YouTube just in a little bit to discuss some more Celtics stuff. We wanted to get this update before we had our live stream for all of you. And Patrick, like the title suggests, we got some good news for everyone around this Celtics fan base.
Yeah, definitely with there not being too many news going around in the Celtics sphere, let alone the NBA sphere, it's kind of a little bit of a dry spot. So we haven't talked about this in a while, and it's good that some news has come out about Jayson Tatum, and I'm excited to see him back on the floor at some point soon.
Yeah, so am I. So without further ado, let's dive in. And like you mentioned, it has been kind of dry here on the news space, but we do see some injury updates revolving around our star, Jayson Tatum. And like we all know, Patrick suffered that terrible injury here in the playoffs in the semifinals versus the New York Knicks. But as we can see here from these latest quotes, we can see that he seems to be doing very well, where he's rehabbing hard, and anyone who's been through a long injury and a long recovery knows it's just a challenge. And this was a quote from Celtics president Brad Stevens, who said on this broadcast of Boston's the Summer League game on July 13th. He said the mental challenge, the physical challenges are obviously there, but he has that surgery right away, and from that point on, his mindset is we're going to get after this thing and try to get better. He follows that up by saying he's a competitor and he's going to compete in everything he does, including rehab, and I'm really encouraged. I've basically seen him every day in Boston for the last 50 days. Usually he goes away at the end of the season and then comes back, but this season he's just stayed there and been doing his rehab, which has been fun to spend time with him every day and just try to catch up to see how he's doing as we watch him make the strides that he needs to make. And that is very reassuring for me, in my opinion. Honestly, I think that this is absolutely fantastic for news for the Boston Celtics to really hear from their president, someone that's really tapped in with Jayson Tatum and someone that has obviously been a big fan of him, as he's been with him not only just coaching Jayson Tatum, but also being the general manager as well, trying to build this championship team around him, which they did just last season.
Yeah, I definitely love seeing that he's still kind of sticking around and staying with some of the staff, trying to help him through this injury. I mean, he has the one therapist that he's always been around, posting on his stories constantly. It's like one of his closer friends, especially on the Celtics when it comes to the staff side of things. And you definitely see some guys when they go through injuries, they go home, they do their own rehabbing stuff, but he's doing it a little bit different. He's sticking around, staying with the organization and doing it that way. And I think that he just loves that type of mentality. Just, you're walking into the same place every single day. You want to get back into this exact same place where you're going to be practicing and playing every single day as the season coming up. And I think that gives him a little bit more of a motivational boost just mentally, just being in there and being like, I can't be here right now, and I'm trying to work as hard as I can to be back on this exact court sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and we've all heard, obviously, the discussions of his timetable. There's still an uncertain timetable on when he will be back. But from these quotes from Brad Stevens and just from what you described here of Tatum being in the facility basically every single day, trying to get back, and we'll go into some clips that he's been posting later on in the video about how he's been highlighting that, which has been very, very key so far for this. It only just makes you feel more confident that even if we don't get to see Jayson Tatum this season, which we hope we do possibly could see at some point, it's that he's going to be in this locker room with the team, gelling with them, coaching them, helping them to be a top-tier competitor in this Eastern Conference and still keep that Celtics energy in there. And then, like I mentioned, there's the potential of him being in this facility all this time, that he grows accustomed and gets really comfortable, that he could be back as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely couldn't agree more. I definitely want to see him back on the court this year, regardless how things are looking on the roster. But we know how the timetable is for this Achilles injury. Sometimes it's more of just a mentality thing, just trying to get past the point of doing certain moves because it's just more in your head about if you want to do it or not. And if you get past that mental point, I mean, the process kind of speeds up more and more. And I think just him being around these guys is going to help him a lot more in this process. And who knows, the East is a little bit weak, so you got a lot more opportunity to be a little bit more of a higher seed than you would over in the West. So maybe if he's 100%, which is definitely the only reason he'll get on the court, I don't think if he's 95 he's going to touch it, but if he's 100% and we're looking at a February to early March and they're in a good spot when it comes to playoff time, I think that we could definitely see him back.
Yeah, and I would really like to see that opportunity with Tatum back on this court with this team whenever it is physically possible for him to do so. And Patrick, like you mentioned, we did get to see some updates from Tatum as well, as NBA champion Jayson Tatum was putting in some work at Chattanooga with the men's basketball team as well, where the Celtics star still remains locked in, as we still notice, where he wants to get back to the court. We also have seen multiple updates from Jayson Tatum so far. This one was today, where he was stated working, trying to grind and get back. And we do see a little bit of a tease here. There is no more boot for Jayson Tatum as well, which is very good to see for this recovery. So in my eyes, from what we've been talking about, hopefully trying to see him on the court this season could be potentially possible for this Celtics team. And with this rehab of, posting every day, getting these grinding moments in, really showing that mentality of hard work and what he wants to prosper to be back on the Celtics court, with seeing these updates, I think is very reassuring for Celtics fans.
Yeah, and it's funny enough, the couple days before the no boot, he was still in a boot working out at Chattanooga. So you see that a couple days later, no boot. And then on that Instagram story, which I really liked, it was just the quote that was just sitting there right in the middle, like, it's crossing out and I have to, I get to, which is definitely a great mentality. And you can definitely see that he's in a good space mentally, because we did see a tweet, or it was an Instagram story, either one, talking about how much it sucked and how hard it is for him. And now he's kind of getting over that mental hump. And now he's kind of like, I get to do this. I get to rehab. I get to get better every single day. And I think that's an awesome mentality coming from him.
Yep, and I've seen some of his Twitter posts. There was one earlier in the offseason with him and, like, Torrey Craig, where Torrey Craig came back and, like, checked on him and stuff like that. So you've been seeing that from those other days as well. But like you mentioned, the mental challenges are also there. The physical challenges are obviously. But the fact that he has this kind of mindset where he can be ready, I get to get through this rehab and I get to push and prosper through it, I think is very key to kind of set that mindset, not only for Tatum in this rehab, in this process, but also for his mentality with going into this Celtics team this season and how he wants to be, projecting as a leader for this team. And then we have this final quote here that says, as for future prognosis, there are still no official updates, what we talked about after Tatum's Instagram post, but ESPN's Stephanie Abell reported back in May that the Hassan surgery may actually prove to be more beneficial in the long run for Boston Celtics star Jayson Tatum, as a study published in 2020 with knee surgeries and sports traumatology and arthroscopy confirmed that the benefits of rapid repair, noting improved biomechanical and histological outcomes for these undergoing surgeries within the first 40 hours post-injury. And we saw Jayson Tatum obviously go through that, with Brad Stevens confirming that. Return to play for these athletes on average per Bell is about 6 months to a year. For returning to NBA action, the process is about 10 months on average. So with Tatum going down, that would probably push him out for this season, but maybe even a spot where he comes back, late April, gears up and gets some time in the playoffs. Patrick, I think that's something we could all keep an eye out potentially for Jayson Tatum, and ultimately seeing him out of that boot kind of right away, I think, is that great sign as Boston Celtics fans to kind of realize that we're heading in a at least progressive direction for this rehab for Jayson Tatum.
Yeah, well, first of all, kudos to you. There's some big words in that article right
Thank
there.
you, thank you.
But, I think it's just that one thing that we see him progressing. It seems like he's progressing really well. And you look at that 6 months to 12 months kind of timeline, it gets you a little bit more excited and a little bit more confident. I'm like, well, if he's progressing so well, maybe we will see him a little bit earlier than that 10-month average. And we're looking at like an early March, mid-March, like I was talking about. And if you're in their spot to still compete and kind of make a playoff push, if he's still at 100%, why not you could take the chance. Why not? But of course, if it says that with this surgery that it does help more in the long run, this is definitely more of what you wanted to hear, that it'll help in the long run, because we've seen a lot of averages go down from people post Achilles injuries. But with this surgery happening 18 hours after it was ruptured, I think there's a lot of more things that go into this. I think we'll see the same thing with Tyrese Halliburton. Apparently they've been texting about it all because they're going through the same exact thing. So it's good to have somebody that's going through the same thing with you, especially they definitely got to know each other in the Olympics, as they were both sitting next to each other for pretty much every single game. So I think that it's definitely helpful having him around as well, just texting him and just being in the facility every day and working hard. And hopefully we see him on the court sooner than we definitely expect.
Yeah, I like that point you made about Tyrese Halliburton. Not only did they play on Team USA, but they played each other in the conference finals when the Celtics made that finals run. So they definitely have that, tight connection of being fierce competitors. So at least having someone to kind of rehab, not that injury. Obviously, you don't want to be rehabbing an Achilles injury. That's probably the worst thing to be doing, unfortunately, for these star players. But at least kind of having someone to kind of text to, like you were mentioning, and kind of doing checkups on, trying to help through those mental states. Not only just that, but kind of just if you've learned anything from your surgery or learn anything that made you better, to give that to the other guys so they can get over the surgery a little bit better, just so that both stars can at least, like you mentioned, have some promising years after these Achilles injuries and be able to still flourish as stars in the NBA, because that's what we want to see with the overall NBA product, is to see the best players out there. We don't want to see stars ultimately have their careers hindered due to these injuries like we've had in the past. And I think with these new updates to obviously studying and researching and trying to figure out what to do best in the surgery with those big words, you can kind of figure out hopefully the best diagnosis for these types of players. And I think ultimately for Jayson Tatum, for this Boston Celtics team, like we kind of stated already, this is some great news to kind of hear going into the weekend. And hopefully we get some more updates in the offseason when the training camp does start on Jayson Tatum, on that rehab, and how things are starting to look for the start of the season for the star as he does look to kind of rehab and come back.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I'm hoping that he will get back this season, just because I love watching him play. But I think the smart thing to do would, of course, if we're looking ahead, would be to sit him out for the rest of the season and then kind of look ahead to how he looked, kind of ramping up a little bit as if he was trying to get ready, and just what other pieces can come through, and just, like we keep talking about, just see what we got right now, figure out who's going to stay around, and just build around Jayson Tatum, and hopefully he gets back to that first-team All-NBA type of player.
No, I completely agree, Patrick, and thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode here on Celtics Digest, where we broke down all the latest. If you guys want to come by and join us on the stream, we will be live here at 6 p.m., going this up a little bit before that. If not, check out the VOD if you did miss it, as Patrick and I will be going over some stuff revolving around the Celtics media space with some players that have left the Celtics or joining the Celtics that may not be feeling welcome. So we'll be diving and exploring all of that and more. But once again, thank you guys so much. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section on this Jayson Tatum injury recovery update, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics.